Does Numbers 18:26 prove that God required tithes of money?
Let's find out, shall we? In Numbers 18:26 we read, "Thus speak unto the Levites, and say unto them, When ye take of the children of Israel the tithes which I have given you from them for your inheritance, then ye shall offer up and heave offering of it for the Lord, even a tenth part of the tithe." I see nothing in this verse that indicates, or even hints at God requiring a monetary tithe.
Okay, what about when it is read with Leviticus 27:31?
Let's see. Leviticus 27:31 says, "And if a man will at all redeem out of his tithes, he shall add thereto the fifth part thereof." Even when used with Leviticus 27:31, I do not see that a monetary tithe is required by God. Leviticus 27:30 identifies the required tithe as being agriculture. It says, "And all the tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land, or of the fruit of the tree, is the Lord's. It is holy unto the Lord."
Yes, but verse 31 clearly tells us that if a man wants to keep his tithe, he can give money instead. He just has to pay 20% more for tithe than the tithe is actually worth.
Is that what verse 31 says? Does it say that the man can keep his tithes, or does it say he can redeem a portion of his tithes?
Keep. Redeem. Same thing. The Levite ends up with money instead of his inheritance. God said the tithe was the inheritance of the Levite in Numbers 18:26. And if the Levite is supposed to give God the tithe of his inheritance, but has sold the inheritance back to the farmer who gave it to him, then there is nothing left for the Levite to tithe but the money. And God did say that the Levite must tithe. So God requires monetary tithes.
That is not what the Bible says. Notice in Numbers 18:26 that God said the tenth of the tithes is to be offered to him. "Thus speak unto the Levites, and say unto them, When ye take of the children of Israel the tithes which I have given you from them for your inheritance, then ye shall offer up and heave offering of it for the Lord, even a tenth part of the tithe." Now notice what Nehemiah says, "And the priest the son of Aaron shall be with the Levites, when the Levites take tithes, and the Levites shall bring up the tithe of the tithes into the house of our God, to the chambers, into the treasure house." Okay, the farmer could not keep his tithes and give money instead. The Bible texts we have covered thus far show that the tithe had to be given. There was no getting around it. Notice what Numbers 18:26 says again. Pay close attention to the words. "Thus speak unto the Levites, and say unto them, When ye take of the children of Israel the tithes which I have given you from them for your inheritance, then ye shall offer up and heave offering of it for the Lord, even a tenth part of the tithe." God told the Levite, when you take tithes you are to offer up the tenth of those tithes to him. Can't you see? The answer is staring you right in the face. Upon receiving the tithes, a tenth of the tithes received was offered to God. The Levite could not sell to the farmer what the Levite had just offered to God.
If the tithes were sold to the farmer, then the money became the Levite's tithe, and he was to give tithes from that money to God.
That's not what the Bible says. The Bible says that the Levite was to take the tithe and then to offer a tithe of those tithes received to God. It was the tithe of the tithes that was to be given to God, not a tithe of redemption money. It is clear that the Levite could not sell all of the tithes back to the farmer, for the tithe of the tithes received belonged to God. The farmer could only buy back up to 90% of the tithes he had given, or more than that. If the Levite sold 90% back to the farmer, he still had the tithe of the tithes to give to God. No part of the redemption money was required as tithe, for the tithe of the tithes was what God wanted. The Levite was free to use the redemption money as he wished.